Welcome back to Judak's Art Music and More TV. Today we're tackling a topic that's crucial for anyone who loves their car: how to avoid common car paint failures. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, understanding these paint problems and their solutions will save you time, money, and a whole lot of headaches. So grab your notepad and let's get right into it. Alright, first up, we're talking about paint blistering or bubbling. Picture this: you've just finished painting your car and everything looks great. Then, a few days later, bam! You start seeing these little bubbles popping up under the paint. Not a good look, right? But don't worry, we'll fix it. Now, the main culprit behind this bubbling issue is moisture. It's like those tiny water balloons you used to launch at your friends, except these are trapped under your paint job. This moisture usually gets trapped during the painting process, especially if you didn't prep the surface correctly. Think of it like this: you wouldn't want to paint a dirty canvas, right? Same goes for your car. Make sure you clean the surface thoroughly and let it dry completely before you even think about grabbing that paint sprayer. Trust me, taking that extra time to prep will save you a ton of trouble down the line. Next up, we're dealing with peeling paint. And let me tell you, this one's a real pain. You know how satisfying it is to peel off a perfect strip of orange peel? Yeah, well, not so much when it's your car's paint job we're talking about. Peeling paint is basically when the paint loses its grip on the surface and decides to go solo. And just like a bad breakup, it usually comes down to compatibility issues. See, different layers of paint need to play nice with each other or they'll just end up repelling each other. That's why it's super important to use compatible primers, paints, and clear coats. Think of it like building a house. You need a strong foundation, primer for the walls, paint, and the roof, clear coat to stick properly. Skipping the primer or using the wrong type is like building on shaky ground. Eventually, everything's gonna come crashing down. Alright, let's talk about cracking and crazing. Now, this isn't as dramatic as it sounds, but it's still something you definitely want to avoid. Imagine baking a cake, and instead of a smooth, delicious top, you get a surface full of tiny cracks. That's kind of what cracking and crazing look like on a car's paint job. It happens when the paint film shrinks or expands too much, usually because of temperature changes or using the wrong type of paint. Remember how we talked about thin, even coats earlier? Well, that applies here too. Thick coats of paint might seem like a good idea at first, but they're more prone to cracking as they dry. It's like trying to stuff a giant marshmallow into your mouth. It's just not going to end well. So take your time, apply those thin coats, and let each layer dry properly before moving on to the next. Trust me, your car's paint job will thank you for it. Now let's talk about fading and discoloration. You know how that bright, shiny new car smell eventually fades away? Well, the same thing can happen to your car's paint job, especially if it's constantly exposed to the elements. Think of your car's paint like your skin. Too much sun exposure can cause damage over time. The sun's UV rays can break down the pigments in the paint, leading to that faded, dull look nobody wants. But don't worry, there are ways to protect your car's paint and keep it looking its best. Just like you wear sunscreen to protect your skin, think of a good quality car wax with UV protection as sunscreen for your car's paint. It creates a protective barrier that helps prevent those harmful UV rays from doing their damage. Alright, now let's talk about chalking. Have you ever run your hand over a car's surface and come away with a white, powdery residue on your fingers? That's chalking, and it's a telltale sign of paint degradation. Think of it like this: your car's paint is like your skin. And just like how your skin gets dry and flaky without proper moisture, your car's paint can too. Over time, exposure to the elements, especially those harsh UV rays, can cause the paint's binders to break down. That's when you start to see that chalky residue, which is basically the paint pigment losing its grip on the surface. The good news is that chalking is preventable. Just like you moisturize your skin to keep it healthy, you can protect your car's paint by waxing it regularly. Now, let's talk about fish eyes. No, we're not talking about those creepy fish eyes you see in horror movies. In the car painting world, fish eyes are small, crater-like imperfections that pop up on your otherwise smooth paint job. Imagine you're about to enjoy a delicious bowl of soup, and you spot a tiny fly floating on the surface. That's what a fisheye looks like on your car's paint. These pesky little craters are usually caused by contaminants on the surface before you even start painting. Think oils, silicones, waxes, anything that creates a barrier between the paint and the surface. Remember how we talked about surface prep being key? Well, that applies tenfold when it comes to avoiding fisheyes. Chapter 7. Orange peel. Okay, let's talk about orange peel. And no, we're not talking about the delicious fruit. Orange peel, in the car painting world, refers to a paint surface that's, well, bumpy and textured, just like the skin of an orange. Now, while some people might find the texture of an orange peel satisfying, trust me, you don't want that on your car's paint job. It's usually caused by incorrect spraying techniques, like holding the spray gun too far away, or not using the right spray gun settings. Think of it like watering your lawn. If you stand too far away with the hose, the water pressure drops, and you end up with an uneven spray. The same principle applies to painting a car. You want that nice, even flow of paint to achieve a smooth, glossy finish. Chapter 8. Runs and sags. Now, let's talk about runs and sags. Imagine pouring syrup on your pancakes. Too much in one spot and it starts to run down the sides, creating a sticky mess. That's basically what happens with paint runs and sags. It happens when you apply too much paint in one area, and gravity does its thing, causing the paint to flow and create those uneven, drippy areas. The key to avoiding runs and sags is to apply the paint in thin, even coats, just like we talked about earlier. Think of it like layering clothes on a cold day. You wouldn't put on all your heaviest layers at once, right? You'd start with a base layer and gradually add more layers as needed. The same principle applies to painting. Chapter 9. Prevention tips. Alright, now that we've covered some of the most common car paint failures, let's talk about how to prevent them from happening in the first place. Prevention is key, my friends, and it all starts with proper preparation. Think of it like this. A good paint job is like a successful road trip. You wouldn't hit the road without a map, snacks, and a full tank of gas, right? Same goes for painting your car. Before you even think about cracking open that can of paint, you need to make sure you have everything you need and that your car's surface is prepped and ready to go. Outrow final thoughts. Understanding and preventing automotive paint failures can save you time, money, and frustration. With the right knowledge and techniques, you can achieve a professional, long-lasting finish on your vehicle. Thanks for watching Auto Care Central. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more tips and tutorials.